Osiris.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Corner of Gray Street podcast. I'm Nolan, joined as always by Bruce. And this week we have a very special guest, the one and only Karina Rykman, fresh off of her trip down to Mexico for Dave and Tim. Karina, thanks for joining us on the pod.
Nolan, Bruce, thanks for having me on the pod, guys. It's a true pleasure and an honor. Thanks for reaching out.
Of course.
Oh, it's awesome. Yeah. Of course.
Excited to talk to you. We're going to dive into some of your background and how you got started and how things have kind of taken off for you lately. And then overall your experience down in Mexico and having to put up with the DMB fans down there and see what that was like. But yeah, so
I loved every minute of it, but yes, continue.
Good. Yes. So you were the night zero opener for Lord Huron there at Dave and Tim, and then you played a night one, day one pool set, which we'll get into. But first, you're a bassist and vocalist. You grew up in New York City. How did you get into music? How did you kind of get your start?
It's a great question because it's been a long, strange trip. I grew up in Manhattan, and I'm the daughter of two Columbia professors, and they love music, but they didn't show me music like in the way maybe some people's parents were like, here's the Beatles, here's the Rolling Stones, get with it. It sort of wasn't like that. My dad listened to classical music while he wrote, and I think my interest in music, subsequently was just completely self-motivated. You know what I mean? Like when I discovered something, it was like, holy shit, guys, like to my parents, I'd be like, have you heard of this? It's Led Zeppelin, and they're like, oh yeah, totally. I'm like, why didn't you show me this? This is insane. Like, and music kind of just became like my complete focus. It was just my thing that made sense. And it was really, I started playing piano a little bit like in 5th grade, didn't stick with it much. But then by 7th, 8th grade, I started playing guitar just because Bobby, my dear friend, in the 7th or 8th grade, put an acoustic guitar in my lap at recess and taught me Seven Nation Army. And I literally was flabbergasted that I could, like, you put your fingers to the frets and that like, I was like, I can do this. Are you kidding? And then from that moment on, it was just complete light switch moment. From one day to the next, it's all I cared about. And then from one day to the next, and still here we are, however many years later. And, that's my community. That's my world. I hardly know anybody that I don't know through music in some way, and all throughout the end of middle school and all of high school and all of college and up till now, like that's, it was never like it was a communal activity. You know what I mean? Like and still to this day, when I go to my friends' apartments, like we're like, hey, how you doing? And we jam, like regardless of whether or not they're professional musicians, it's just sort of the universal language that got me through absolutely everything. And, music being just the centerpiece of my life. And I knew even then, like, I started playing in bands in 8th grade, and I was in a punk band called False Arrest, like 2 weeks after I got my first electric guitar for my 12th or 13th birthday. And we used to swindle the promoters around New York and be like, yeah, we can bring 60 people out on a Wednesday. Of course. And meanwhile, we're literally 13 years old. No, we can't, And, but, taking any opportunity to play, and that continued all throughout high school I like to say I was in 5 bands going nowhere, which is true, but it was just playing to play locally. And I had really amazing mentors and people who, looked out for me and who I learned from. I've never had like a formal lesson in my life, but everything, it was just it was just the language, you know? So I'd have my friends come over, or we'd go to my friend's house, and people would be like, hey, check out this lick. And I'd be like, holy shit, will you show me that? And then I'd be like, I was studying this Derek Trucks lick. You want it, like, you know? And it was just this, I try to explain this to people because they're like, what do you mean you're self-taught? And I'm like, well, I guess I'm not self-taught. I'm taught by my friends, you know what I mean? And I'm taught by these, like, you know, I sort of found myself playing with all these people who were older and better, and, you know, on all sorts of levels and all sorts of genres that, I don't know. I put myself in a lot of positions that, you know, somebody maybe of my age and stage in terms of my playing, like, should have been scared, but I wasn't scared. I was like, sink or swim. This is how you learn, and this is what we do. So anyway, it's a long-winded way of saying been playing music forever. I started playing, the gig that changed everything for me is when I started playing with a guy named Marco Benevento when I was 22. It's my last semester of NYU. I was the GM of a concert promoter here in New York called Rocks Off, and I was working full time, getting a salary, the whole nine. And I had to learn 40 Marco Benevento songs, and then bada bing, everything was crazy in my life. But that definitely, you know, I owe Marco everything, because before that it was, you know, like I said, 5 bands going nowhere, and that sort of shined a light on me as an instrumentalist. And very shortly thereafter, I started writing my own songs, and that if I only knew then what I know now, but I never expected it to be a thing, you know, and here we are, and it's sort of a thing. So that's it's my very long-winded autobiography. Thank you.
Amazing.
But also, like,
Well done.
you know, very succinct as well, because it sounds like there's a lot of stuff in the middle there.
Oh yeah, I
But
could
that was
dig
such a
into that.
yeah. Oh, I'm sure. And that's such a good precursor, honestly, to what we wanted to kind of talk about next. It's really about your sound and just your music in general. You know, you have that blend of punk and rock and some funk in there, and then a little jazz of pop as well. You threw in a couple of, I guess, influences, Derek Trucks, and then you got the Led Zeppelins, and I'm sure there's a billion others. But what are some of your biggest influences, and how would you describe kind of the collection of sound that you have now, you know, to fans that may be a little bit newer to Karina?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I'm eclectic to a fault. And every time I go to write music, I'm always like, dude, wouldn't it be so much easier if you just did one thing well? Like what? You know, but I'm influenced by so much, and it's just like, you know, it's who I am. So yeah, I grew up liking all that riff rock that we were talking about, meaning, you know, I would sit and play along to full Led Zeppelin records and full Black Sabbath records. I love Rush. I love Blind Faith and Cream and Humble Pie and like all that, you know, big 70s, like riff driven rock and roll. But then, I mean, on the flip side, I love hip hop. I love pop music. I love heavy metal. I am a huge Fish fan. That's sort of like what I fell into in lots of ways that we could go into when I was 14, 15. And that definitely changed the course of everything. I'm, you know, a Grateful Dead junkie, an Allman Brothers junkie. I love Nine Inch Nails. I love Beck. I love Ween. You know, tons of jazz, tons of funk, you know, the softest of the soft and the most introspective of the introspective and the most loud, go fuck yourself, meat and potatoes bullshit. I'm in it to win. I love Slayer. I love Metallica. I'm sort of, I don't know. I mean, and I'm lucky because I've surrounded myself with a lot of friends with ears as wide as mine, which is cool because a lot of people, I think, would look at my listening habits and be like, you're like, this is straight jacket material. And I would be like, no, you know, to go from Dizzy Gillespie to Slayer is not, you know, necessarily normal, but it is to me, you know? And so, you know, the music I make is, it's sort of, it runs the gamut, but I call it dancey, psychedelic, poppy rock, you know, and that encompasses a lot of different shit. But, you know, it's one thing it's not is passive listening music. It's not hummus and crackers music. You don't sit down while listening to it. It's meant to get you dancing, to be engaged. You're either rocking or you're dancing to this music. It's it's uplifting, God willing, and it's to be played for fun times and big crowds, God willing. That's the story. But it all and of course I'm not afraid. Like, I don't know, I just feel like, knock on wood, I have yet to do an inauthentic thing. So like the first single I put out was a 5-minute long instrumental, called Plants. And for whatever reason, Plants just kind of took off algorithmically, and it has like, 1.5 million streams or whatever, which I was like, whoa, like the little engine that could on Plants, like what, and my song Joyride, which to me is like the most hit of a song that I've written, has under 200,000 streams, but it gets played on, the Fox Sports during NFL games. And like, everybody knows it as like, I think when they think Karina, they think Joyride, which is definitely like a poppy, dancey, psychedelic banger. So, it really runs the gamut, and I'm not afraid of, I'm writing a new record now, and it's sort of this moment, like we're going back into the womb of creation, as opposed to just like touring, go, like, let me show you all what I made. That's this album. And it's like, whatever. And, I'm going back and being introspective about it. And I like to just think that I'm not afraid to go whichever way the tide blows me. You know what I mean? I'm like, if I need to, write this as an instrumental, it's going to be an instrumental, you know what I mean? And if this needs to be a little slower and this needs to be a little more vibey, that's great. And then on the flip side, if we need to have this be super fast and raging, like, I don't know, you can't, for me, I don't know, you can't censor the songs that come out of you, you can just censor what comes out in the world. So we'll see what happens. But lot of influence, Love
it.
Awesome. Well, yeah, I think that's a good summation of everything that is Joyride, and it's got great flow, a great vibe. We really enjoy that one, and that was our next question. So nice job leading us in with that segue. It was released August of 2023. Can you kind of walk us through your process creating and releasing your first album, and then how you ended up getting to know Trey Anastasio and his collaboration on that album with you?
Definitely. What a long, strange trip it was and has been, but it, you only get to make your first album once, right? And it was sort of this thing of like I said, like I was sort of like this known-ish instrumentalist in this one niche, like sort of the jam band world and extended, whatever. And I started, writing music, and, it was like, okay, I wrote Plants, well, let's record it. Cool, let's put it out. 6 months later, I recorded Elevator. This is all 2019. And I was like, cool, let's put it out. No broader plan, no agenda, just purely just self-releasing this stuff for the joy of it. And it started catching on, and we started getting these gigs, and I was like, holy shit, like we opened for Krungbin at the Capitol Theater in June of 2019 with not a song to our name. That was like 10 days before Plants, the first single, came out. So I don't know, everything just sort of, it was almost like you were playing catch up and being like, wait, don't I need music? Here's music. Whatever. And anyway, so like, and then I start being like, oh, I think I can make a record, shit, and start writing, but not lackadaisically, but like not with like I got a deadline for a label. I had nothing. I had no management. I had no agents. I had nothing. And I start writing, and then boom, the pandemic hits. And this is, 2020. And I have a few songs that are unfinished and like few ideas that are percolating or whatever. And, a few months into the pandemic, I get back with my producer and songwriting partner and dearest friend, Gabe, was down in Mexico with us. And he's the one who took the bass from me during the pool set when I dove in the pool. We'll circle back to that. We'll circle back to that in a second. But Gabe and I, we've written just about all of my songs together, and he's super important to the Karina universe. And, Gabe and I slowly but surely were plugging away and just writing and recording with no real, again, there's no time frame. There's no agenda. We're in the midst of a pandemic. My first song only came out, a a year ago, meaning at that time. So whatever. And then we're writing, and then I ran into Trey Anastasio at the Peach Music Festival in Scranton, Pennsylvania in 2021, July 2021. And I had grown up with Trey's two daughters in middle school. And so, you know, I've been a friend of the family and close to them for a really long time. But never as like a peer to Trey in any way, you know what I mean? And Trey, obviously, like he would definitely, when I would see him backstage at shows, he'd be like, Karina, you're playing with my buddy Marco now? It's insane, you know? And certainly proud of me, and like, you know, knew a little bit like what I was up to, but I was that moment that I had no idea that he like really kept tabs on me, like career wise, you know, and we ran into each other backstage, and he, you know, runs toward me. He's just like, Karina, that song City Kids, we play it around the house all the time, like we love it. And you know, starts mentioning like very like minutia details about the 4 singles that I had to my name at that point, or whatever it was. And I was just like, holy shit, you know. And then he's like, but you need an album. And I was like, I'm working on one. And then he lit up and was just like, what, you know, blah, blah, blah. And I don't know, he bestowed in this 30 minutes bestowed upon me so much, you know, information and thoughts and knowledge and just cool advice and shit. And we were just going back and forth saying, oh, what about this? What about this? Blah, blah, blah. It was like a family reunion, you know, and he was just so stoked that I was working on something and proud of what I had done to that point. And then he was just like, can we have lunch next week? Because there's a lot more that we should talk about. And I was like, yes, we can. And then
never say no.
Never say no. And then, and so, you know, this is all summer 2021. We have lunch, we talk about all this. And basically he was just like, here, I have an idea. I'll give you the barn, which is what, you know, Fish has made just about all their studio records in since, you know, Farmhouse. And Bryce Goggin, who's done most of the Fish records since that time and whatever. And he was just like, and I'll play on it. And then blah, blah, blah. And like, you know, he was just super excited, you know, to help. And I was just like, yes, you know what I mean? I was just so stunned and stoked. And that's basically where it started. And then from that, so this is summer 2021. I go back to Gabe, my boy, and I'm like, yo, shit is happening at alarming rates. We need to finish these songs ASAP. And then so me and Gabe literally like, you know, we're in the lab for the rest of that year for sure. And actually, you know, it's so funny. I remember just trying to get things like in a good place, like, because we were going to send off the big Dropbox to Bryce Goggin and Trey, you know. And actually, I remember sending it off. Trey was in Mexico for the Fish stuff right when I sent it in 2022. So, you know, I think that's February, or like the beginning of February, the end of January in 2022. So up until that point, you know, Gabe and I had gotten the songs to as good of a place as we could, and, you know, recorded live drums and this and whatever. And then we brought it to Trey and Bryce. They loved it. We all got together. Trey had all these ideas for arrangements, and, you know, he's like, Karina, this hook is so strong. You can't just sing it twice. We got to bring it back. And, you know, and he played guitar on 5 of the 9 tunes on the record, and it's crazy ass time. And we were just so excited to, you know, the whole thing was just full circle and sort of familial in this way, because it's my friend's dad, and he's literally watched me grow up, and he's just like, Karina, you're the same as you were in middle school. You've always, you know, whatever. Like, it's just cute and funny and awesome. And who was I to say no to all this? You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
and so Trey laid down all the stuff, and then Gabe and I basically parsed through all these takes and all this stuff, got it to a place. And then a month later, this is, you know, May 2022, me, Gabe, and Bryce Goggin went up to the barn for a week and mixed it all down. And then we left the record, and that was Joyride. And it took that long, you know. So the finished record, it was done in May of 2022, and it didn't come out until August of 2023, which is crazy. And so we had, you know, I had a management change, and we, you know, tried to figure out who was going to put it out and what was going to happen and blah, blah, blah. And this distro company, AWOL, ended up putting it out, which is great. And Yeah, man, that's the long-winded story of the record Joyride and how it came to be. But it's incredible because I don't know. And now it's funny because you do something, and now here I am, just kind of like, oh shit, all right, Joyride, what's it gonna be like? And it's sort of like, obviously that was many years of just an organic process of like writing this, writing that. And then it was like Trey kind of put the fire under our asses to be like, holy shit, what? We have an opportunity to do what and work with you in your studio that you built. Like, what? Like, this is crazy and whatever. And now I sort of feel like a little bit of like that sort of self-imposed pressure of time where I'm like, I've just spent the last, since then I've been on the road, and literally now I have 2 months off for the first time since the pandemic, for sure. Like, I've never not had gigs for 2 months. It's insane. And I'm just like grinding it out, guys. We're grinding it out. We're writing, we're seeing, you got to fuck around and find out. And
Oh yeah.
It's very exciting. It's very exciting. I'm stoked to make new music and, continue the joyride.
Yeah, there you go. Look at that tagline. I
Hey,
can't imagine. Well, number one, just like backing that up, the sophomore effort, like we're looking forward to it. But I can't imagine like, oh, we worked with Trey and he helped produce, and we were up at the barn and like all these things, and now you're like, okay, now I'm back to doing this. Maybe with some of that, maybe not. But
sure.
What an experience and truly absurd. But it sounds like after learning a lot from that. The fire lit, so to speak, and now opening it up to a little more introspective and things. It's going to be a really, really cool second album. So whenever that does come, we are certainly looking forward to that. And I think a lot of people that probably just discovered you most recently, and we'll bring it back down to Dave and Tim Mexico, why a bunch of people are probably able to listen to this now. What was that like? So what was getting the call? Obviously, seemingly that we know of, y'all had never truly like crossed those paths. You're in a lot of more jam band circles and doing festivals that DMB is not really at or whatever that we've, noticed. But
Yeah.
what was that like, getting that call and getting the, the planning to be able to go down and do that?
I have a good story for you. I mean, it I still, like, I have goosebumps just thinking about it, but I think that I replaced somebody who dropped off, you know what I mean? Because it was one of those things where they were like, we need an answer tomorrow. It was like, you know what I mean? It was one of those like very, very quick turnarounds. And this is just hearsay. I don't know that for a fact at all, but I've worked in this business long enough to tell you. No, I'm just kidding. So we get the call. We all immediately shit ourselves. And especially Adam, my guitar player, is like DMB fan numero uno. Like, that's his fish. For like me growing up, like I've seen 153 Fish shows. Like, he, 2011, he's like fucking 16 years old, like, driving from Westchester, New York to, DMB Caravan in Chicago with his friends, like big time, big time, big time. He can play all the stuff and sing it at the same time. I'm like, dude, like, he goes really hard for Dave. So anyway, we're just like, confirm. But what's interesting about all this is that I was booked to play in Jamaica with Government Mule, Warren Haynes's destination event, right before Dave and Tim, right? And I'm looking at the dates. I'm like, oh, it works. It's great. Like, those days, it's literally, they're like back to back, but it worked, But then I was on the phone with my agents and everything, and they're like, oh, the way it's scheduled, like Warren has you playing on, I don't know, the second and fourth day, meaning you won't be able to travel to get to Mexico on night 0. And that's the slot that they have for you, like that's like your main stage slot. And I was like, wait, what? They're like, yeah. And I was like, no, what? No. And like, it was one of those moments where I was just like, come hell or high water, we have to do this gig. Like, I don't know. And it was one of those moments where I was just like, just reflective on like how long I've been seeing all this live music and knowing all these managers and knowing all these agents and just the friends that I've made doing this. And one of them is Jay Bow, who is Warren's longtime manager, who, you know, put us on that with Jamaica event. And I just, you know, I'm a hard act to manage because like I like to do shit myself, you know what I mean? And I just like, hung up with my agent and I called Jay Bow immediately. And I was like, my dude, we got this Dave Matthews offer. I don't know what you can do, but is there any way you can shift our Jamaica slots back so that we can travel on whatever day that was, the 22nd, you know, from Jamaica to Mexico so that we can play the Dave event, you know? And he was like, oh yeah, let me call Cameron, who's the promoter on the thing. And, you know, of course I know that must mean the world to you. So we'll try to make it happen, you know? And, lo and behold, I was like sitting on, I remember that evening so well. I was pacing. Cause, by the way, I didn't tell my band or my crew or anything. It was one of those things where I was like, guys, we're going to play with Dave Matthews in Mexico. Like, you know, whatever. But I didn't tell them that there was a minute of like up in the air-ness about this. You know what I mean? And cause I was just like, holy shit, no, I can't tell them it's not happening now. That would be a disaster, you know, or whatever. So, you know, that evening I was calling my agent, calling my manager, calling Jay Bow, and, you know, and all this stuff. And then Jay called me back and said, he was like, it's totally fine. We're shifting your slots. Everything's great. Fuck yeah, Dave, you know? And yeah, so anyway, setting the call was, and then I was just like, I never breathed a heavier sigh of relief. I was just like, holy shit, like this, thank God. And, you know, having gone through that earlier this summer, like when that was all happening, to what we've just done last week, going from Jamaica to Mexico, this like 10-day all-inclusive, you know, vacation for my band and crew. And I brought my best friend and his girlfriend and, you know, all of my boyfriend, everybody's girlfriends, like everybody came. It's like this insane time of like playing with your heroes, people you've idolized since you were so young, taking you on vacation. And I know it's like, and then at the end, I'm like, wait, we're getting paid for this? This is ridiculous. Like, I don't know. Like, I always have these moments when I step off stage where I say like, man, like, dude, like people don't even know like what I would pay to have this experience. You know what I mean? Let alone like, and then I'm like, wait, this is my livelihood. This is so fucked up. Like there's not a second where I'm not kissing the ground. Like the idea that this all happened and I'm able to do this for a living or at all is so shocking. So, you know, I literally I'm shocked and floored at what we just did. And the Warren shows were incredible and the Dave shows were incredible. And it was just, you know, an insanely wild ride. And I think, you know, also to just give that to my band and crew, people were, you know, I will say where the Dave people put us up was extremely nice and it was not on site. But we were just like, damn, okay. All right. Wow. You know what I mean?
Sweet.
So, pretty sweet setup for a touring band too. And also I must say, like, you know, and we've done these things before. Like we've done these all-inclusive like destination events and stuff. None as high profile as Dave, but for a touring band to go to a place that's all-inclusive, you mean I'm not paying for meals or drinks or anything? Like I didn't take my wallet out for 10 days. It was insane. And in the airport going from Jamaica to Mexico, we were in the lounge. So that was like a continuation of just like, it was so ridiculous. Like it was one of those, just again, grateful doesn't even cover it, you know? Like I can't believe I just stepped into this. And you know,
badass.
Yeah, that's it.
That's amazing. Warren and Dave are just the best people. We had Warren on the pod late last year, I guess in the fall, leading up to their Soul Shine benefit concert in MSG, and like just two of the best dudes you'll ever meet. So kind of cool how close knit the whole community is too, because I'm sure that probably helped too. Warren heard you were gonna play for Dave, and he's like, "Whoa, I gotta make it work."
Well, that's the first thing he said. Like, I saw him in Jamaica, and he, you know, we were talking about me sitting in with them and all this stuff. And he's like, and then you're leaving on the 4th day because you're going to play with Dave in Mexico. And I was like, yeah. He's like, that's just so incredible, Karina. I'm so happy for you. Like, you know, he was just super stoked. And I'm like, oh, they're friends, and this is great. You know, like, there was something so sweet about it. And yeah, totally. It was understood.
He's so genuine.
Oh, he's the fucking.
Oh yeah.
And that was also like, you know, I know this is a Dave podcast, but let me gush about Warren for 30 seconds. Like, me
Please.
as a, you know, I know I talked about how many Fish shows I've seen and whatever, but like, the big thing, I'm from the Upper West Side of Manhattan, and the big thing for me was seeing the Allman Brothers Band at the Beacon growing up. And I would, you know, come hell or high water, I had to be there all 10 nights from like 2009 or 10 through when it ended, and Greg died in 2014. I mean, Greg didn't die in 2014, but you know, it ended then. He died a few years later. But anyway, crazy shit. So all I'm saying, that was Warren Haynes and Derek Trucks and O'Teal. And that's what it was about for me, the young nerd, you know, just wanting to study these people playing off each other and playing, you know, these songs. So if you had asked me, and also even before that, before I'd heard a note of Fish and a note of a lot of things, really, like if you had asked me age like 12 to 15, who's your favorite guitar player? Not of all time, because I would have told you Hendrix or Eddie Van Halen at that time, but to go see, you know, and I would have told you Warren Haynes, 100%. I was a die-hard Warren head, you know, and I have all these like old school Government Mule shirts. I had this in common with nobody my age. This is incredible.
Yeah, exactly.
And not, yeah, no, this was not a shared, except for with my best friend Isaac, who came to the whole, you know, Isaac came to Island Exodus in Jamaica to Dave and Tim with us. And it was so full circle and cool. He was like the one kid my age who was just like, fuck yeah, Warren, you know, like, so anyway, this was a full circle little, you know, past week of tourcation that we just had. So yeah.
That's amazing.
Oh my God.
Were you at Soulshine at MSG?
I was, and it was my birthday.
Oh, that's incredible. I was like, it's a bunch of your music idols and like all your friends and like all that stuff. It would have been awesome if you could be there.
I was like, it's the Jam Band Olympics, baby. Let's go, you know?
Right.
The Lie in Our Graves with Trey was just like, you know, I mean, it was, you know, 4-hour long concert or whatever it was. And everything was more incredible than the next. Right. And it was just like, holy shit. Like what? And then Trey stepped out and did that. And of course, I'm a nerd. And I'm like, dude, he just has 2 tube screamers and a tuner down there. He does not have his full rig. And he lifted MSG off of its feet. And that video, I swear, I sent that video to 100 people the next day. And you see Carter be like, yeah, it's so cool. I died. I literally died. Yeah, that was the highlight of the night for me, among everything else. But yeah, to be born on November 24th kind of sucks because it's so close to Thanksgiving or on Thanksgiving. So growing up, it was always just like, hey, come to my party. And everybody's like, I'm going to be with my grandma, you know, like it's Thanksgiving weekend. And I'm like, oh, fuck, right, shit. But now I was like, oh my God, we got Soulshine. This is great. This is a party. Like, you know, so it felt redemptive in that way. Having a birthday that gets, you know, trumped by Thanksgiving every year.
Yeah. You can't beat a birthday show.
I know, it was so sick, and I never get them. It's it was really, really a beautiful time. Loved Soulshine.
It was awesome. We could just hijack the rest of the show and talk about Soulshine and just talk about everybody's set, but we won't do that. It would be awesome, but we can't derail that bad. Tell us a little bit more about the experience, obviously in Mexico. You know, you guys get down there and open up basically the entire weekend, right? Main stage and all of that. Like, you know, did you guys you got to, I would assume, sound check? Did y'all meet Dave and Tim? Like, what did kind of the experience from getting there and then through your set before the pool set through that night zero, what was all that like?
I will be thrilled to tell you. So let's just preface this with, you know, we were in Jamaica, and then there was that very sacred travel day, right? That my calling of Jay Bow and the whole sweating over it. It was so that we could travel, you know? And of course, there is nothing direct from Jamaica to Mexico. It doesn't exist. Wish there was a boat. We should have just gone on a boat. But we went from Jamaica to Atlanta to Mexico, right? And it was fun because in the Atlanta airport on our Delta flight, it was all Dave fans. So that got us real in the mood, you know what I mean? And people were just like, and then I got recognized, and then some people were like, wait, who's she? Oh, that's her? Oh shit, what? And it was just like slap bracelets and stickers and tchotchkes, take this, take that, yes. Like, you know, everybody, it was just a great vibe that started out. And this is for a flight that was delayed 2 hours, right? So everyone was good to go. And yeah, we had quite literally like a 17-hour travel day with these crazy ass delays. And
wow.
It was not for the faint of heart, but I kept just thinking like, guys, we are given the gift of having this hellish travel day. You know what I mean? Like that was my perspective on it. And of course that was everybody's perspective on it. But you know, there were times that were not for the faint of heart. And so we get there super, super late, whatever, wake up the next day. It's a bit cold and rainy, definitely different than our Jamaica. Like Jamaica was 86 and sunny every single day, you know, and 72 and crystal clear at night. And then we get to Cancun. We're like, it's looking, you know, it's a little gray. It's all good, blah, blah, blah. There was no Dave, no Tim on that night zero. My boyfriend's good friends with Lord Huron. He's a promoter here in New York, and he's good friends with Lord Huron and their manager and stuff. So it was like, that was already a nice familial vibe, you know, and I got to know those guys, and I know Rich Cohen, their manager, and it was very cool to have like a shared backstage with them. I will say that the you know, what they've done with the place, and shout out Dan Berkowitz and the whole nine, what they've done, you know, backstage, like the back of house at the Moon Palace for the artists, and is incredible. It's the catering is so on point. There's like a juice smoothie guy that's also an espresso coffee, like who will just make you anything you want. Super, super dialed in production, extremely well taken care of, like wild and cool. And yeah, it's, you know, it's cold and rainy, and we're sound checking during the day. And I'm like, damn, like this is big, like big stage, you know what I mean? And I definitely took a video and I sent it to Trey, and I was like, I'm opening for you, but just like a week early, you know? And he was super, super stoked. And it was incredible. And then of course, you know, came time to do it. And my guitar player had some technical difficulties. I had some technical difficulties. Like my bass kept cutting in and out. And I was like, oh shit, like what? But you know, after maybe the first 3 songs, my shit mellowed out, and I got to really kind of take in this incredible moment, you know? And it's hard sometimes when you have those things happen, because it can take you right out of your, you know, kind of focused bliss of enjoying and playing, you know, and listening and all those things. But then I don't know, it was just such an incredible crowd, and we felt so welcomed, and you know, it was super cool. And I kept doing the stupidest thing where there were these like, I think they were just speakers. They certainly weren't monitors. They weren't pointed back at me, but I think they were speakers like facing outwards, and I stepped on them, and it's rainy and wet, and like they're definitely slippery. And I kept on doing it. And every time I did it to take like a big solo or like whatever, I was like, Karina, don't do this again. You're going to slip. Like, you're definitely going to slip, you know? And then I kept forgetting and being so overtaken by the moment and whatever that I kept doing it. And I was like, oh, here, I'll do it on stage. Right. And I was like, oh, nope, this one's slippery too. And like, so insane. So there's this great video. Shout out my girl Marlo, who came and was our digital content creator. You know, she like came on with a gimbal behind me. It's at the end of our set, and like, you know, you see like the magnitude of the crowd and me from the back, and then I, you know, whatever. And I see myself being so much more stoic in that position, like taking my big solo than I normally would be. Normally I'd be thrashing around and headbanging or whatever, but I literally thought I was going to slip and fall and die. And then I jumped off of it. We were good. No slipping, no falling. We were excellent. And yeah, I mean, dude, we had such a big posse there of just like my people, and Gabe, the aforementioned promoter, or sorry, not producer, was there. and with his wife and his dad, and they were like on like a family vacation in Mexico that happened to align with the Dave shows.
Oh,
Sick.
wow.
It was the fucking best. And so they all came, and it was just super, super, super cool. And I don't know, it was a big moment. We all cheersed afterwards. We never met Dave or Tim, but I don't know if you saw that night one of Dave. Dave was big time kind of sick, you know, and mentioning it and talking about how sick he was. And like a lot of the banter was, you were like, oh, all right, Dave. Yeah.
Glad I didn't meet you.
Yeah. Well, no, I would have loved to have met him, but you know, I was like, dude, he's definitely sick. And they definitely gave him something to get him through this 2+ hour performance. You know what I mean? Like he was getting through it for sure. So I'm glad he took the cold, rainy night 0 to not be on site. Because God, he had such a huge undertaking to get through. But I will say that Tim followed me and liked everything that I've ever posted, which was awesome. And I never met him either. So that's but there's still time for all of this, and I look forward to meeting and thanking them. I definitely thanked the key people who got us there and who sent that offer. And like, you know, I was told them what it meant to us, because it meant the world to us. It was so beyond like, I can't even begin. It really felt like some like big potatoes, you know what I mean? I was just like, oh wow, this is some next level shit. And yeah, it was funny because you know, I'm sort of ensconced in the fish world, and normally I wake up to followers that like have fish references in their usernames and stuff. Reba 2001, down with head, whatever. But then that next day I was like, eat, drink, and be Richard. And this is great. Like, you know, but it was like 1,000 of them, you know, and I was just like, holy shit.
Yeah.
And some of them were so deep. And then we started laughing and making them up ourselves. When I'm looking up one.
That's funny.
Oh my God.
There's plenty.
Oh, yeah. I was like, Adam and I decided our meme page will be your sweet, delicious, perfect little mouth 41. Come on, that's good, right? That's good.
It's pretty good.
Anyway,
good.
And it probably exists, to be honest.
It probably does.
It probably exists.
I mean, if you
Well, I
guys,
was going to make a joke about how you met Dave and Dave gave you Wook flu,
right?
But you didn't meet him, so it wasn't him. So we can rule him out.
Yeah, totally. I just got it from you know, and overexerting myself in this.
The pool is where you got it.
Yes.
And it was the pool that you dove into your second set. So which one did you enjoy more? The one on the big stage where it was kind of raining, or the one where you're at the pool and everyone's just getting, obviously it's night one, so everyone's there at Mexico not feeling it yet, as far as drinking too much, but they're getting into it. What was that kind of like? It looked like maybe a little bit better weather too.
Totally. Weather was better. No rain, which was great. I will say I literally, I can't even compare them, because I enjoyed them both in such profound ways and such different ways. You know, in the pool set, I was just like, yo, this is really funny and fun and different. Like, I've never done anything like that. But we were sort of really cut out for a gig like that, you know what I mean? And people were super vibing, and it was awesome. And the pool was like 4 feet deep, like very shallow. And of course, before I got on site, I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna definitely just dive in from the stage, obviously. But then they heard me talking about that with my friends, and they were like, if you do that, we will be extremely fucking pissed off. No, like, you're gonna dive. It's 4 feet deep. I'm like, okay, you're right. That would be bad. Nobody wants that. So then I come up with this elaborate other stunt, which is Gabe was there, and Gabe's an extraordinary bass player. And I was like, cool. So what we're going to do is we're going to hit our last note, and then you'll be in the wings. You'll come over. I hand the bass to you. I'll strip down. I walk around the perimeter down into the pool, and then I'll dive in a more wholesome way. Everybody was like, cool, this sounds great. This is perfect. So that was really, really fun and funny. And I will say the video just cracks me up every time. And it's, I'm not saying it's gone viral, but it definitely has like 90,000 views on it or something like that. And
it's got legs. It's got legs.
It's got legs.
It's a good dive. 10 out of 10.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I like that form. Yeah, it was fun. And I also I wore like this little, I guess you can sort of see it in that video in the very beginning, but I wore this like outfit I got in the Caribbean a few years ago or whatever. That's like tie-dye, like shorts and like a little top and whatever, some shit I would absolutely never, ever, ever be caught dead with on stage. Right. And I gave this whole spiel where I like from the stage, I was like, I always used to say, like, in the US, we play all these festivals all summer long and it's 100 degrees out and I'm still in black jeans and long sleeves. And like, people are just like, aren't you dying? Aren't you dying? And I was like, man, would you ever see Jimmy Page in shorts? I don't fucking think so, And then, so I said that from the pool set and I was like, but I don't think Jimmy Page ever played a pool set in Mexico.
That's right.
So fuck it. So that's why, I had my cute little pool outfit on. It's great. And hopefully, unless I am playing something, of that ilk, you will never see me on stage in shorts ever. It has to be a pool party in Mexico to even get me to consider it. But, it was a matching set. It was great.
Yeah. Until the next time.
Exactly. No, I had an unreasonably good time. Really, like, I was so happy after that. It was so much fun.
Excellent.
Yeah.
What had you seen Dave and Tim perform before, and what did you think about their night one performance?
I had never seen Dave and Tim. I've seen Dave solo, and I saw Dave solo at Irving Plaza for that, album release, Sirius XM takeover, which is cool. But never just the two of them. And it was so amazing. Like, I loved every second of it. It was cool to see, like, I also was just like, damn, like, this is so amazing. Like, because I'm not telling you anything you don't know, or your followers anything you don't know, but like, Dave Matthews Band, big band, many pieces, loud, big arrangements, all those things, that I love about the band and all that. And then it's like these two every year go down to Mexico, just the two of them, sit on this enormous stage for 2.5, 3 hours and serenade the people with their incredible catalog in which everybody knows every word to every song. And it's so uplifting and special to think that not only can they do that, but they choose to do that. And they do it in this, and they make it this event that, I don't know, I was taken by it because I have been to Fish in Mexico. I went to the first Fish Mexico in 2016. I went in 2019. I'd actually never been to when it switched to the Moon Palace. So that was my first time at the Moon Palace in general. But, in my head, I was like, Fish Mexico was like, all guns blazing, you know what I mean? It's the same Fish, of 4 dudes playing loud electric instruments together. And it was really cool and interesting to see Dave and Tim, take the same setup, of course, but do something so different than what we're all used to, in terms of it being differentiated from the Dave Matthews Band. I was super touched by it. I thought it was fucking awesome. That first night, like, it was funny because we were talking band and crew and friends and everybody, and it was like, what do you want to hear tonight? And I was like, Two-Step, The Stone, Warehouse, and whatever. And they were just like, oh, you're getting a little greedy. Like, that's, night one, like, whatever. And guess what? I got all that shit.
That's right.
So happy.
Got them all.
I got them all.
Our favorite.
And it was super, super cool. So that felt very special. And I felt, I don't know, we just got hit after hit after hit. And of course it continued throughout the weekend. So it was super, super cool. And I'm certain it won't be my last Dave and Tim performance that I go watch, because I was super moved by it and I thought it was really special.
Well, fuck yeah. They must have thought you were like Nostradamus or something, because you wanted Warehouse opened night one. You wanted Two-Step closed night one. Stone mid-set. They're just like, okay, super fan. Like, what is going on here?
Settle down.
Right.
Yeah, totally.
You just slid them a little note. Like, I may not have met you, sick Dave, but here's a note of what to play tonight. And he's like, I got you.
He was like, no problem.
That's right. I got this, girl.
I got you.
Last year, you were actually, I think it was post the announcement that you were going down to Mexico. You were on another Osiris podcast, Osiris Fam, greatest show ever with Cam. And you had mentioned, I think, driving party buses out to Jones Beach for some DMB shows and stuff. I guess give the people a little like recount of that story a little bit. But do you have any other DMB stories or memories growing up? We're not completely versed in like maybe a little bit more of your DMB fandom, but if you're talking about Two Step in the Stone, I mean, you've got to have a little bit more than we thought.
Sure. Well, let's dig into that because it's interesting because you know what, in high school, I will say that it's not that I was a DMB hater. That's way too extreme, but I was like, obviously I didn't know enough to know that DMB was fucking awesome. You know what I mean? Like I was just like, oh, in my head, like that's people who like wear Vineyard Vines and are super fratty and like,
oh no,
I'm like, Fish is cool. And these guys are like, I don't know about that. You know what I mean? But meanwhile, I'm like, and at that, I've softened up a lot in my old age. And, but back then I was like really listening to Slayer and like, and I was like, people don't realize that Fish is like proggy and weird and fucked up and awesome. They just think it's like mellow. Fuck no. Like, like Fish shreds, but I'm pretty sure Dave Matthews is just mellow and for frat boys. You know what I mean? So I was definitely not like deeply immersed in Dave yet. So what I will say is that back in the day, I worked for this company called Rocks Off, which is a promoter in New York that's best known for the concert cruise that takes, it's a 3-hour ride around Manhattan. You have a 600 capacity boat. You put a band on the boat. People get on. They rage their faces off. They bring them back to 23rd Street. Everybody's had a great night. And that's the flagship event. There's also, we put on tons of shows on land as well in just about all the New York venues that you have heard of and know and love. And yet another thing that the company did was run these party buses, to and from shows slightly outside the city, right? So Jones Beach, the PNC Bank Arts Center, sometimes the Mann Center in Philadelphia, which honestly, most of the time was an incredible service and super fun and everybody won. It meant, you would sell 56 seats on this bus. Your shit would all be taken care of. You'd be, taken to your concert. You watch the concert. 30 minutes after it ends, you get back, or 30 minutes after it ends, the bus is taking off back to Manhattan, right? So me from age 18 to, 26, I am the GM of this company. I end up being the GM of this company, but I'm working like a dog, like, doing just about everything, booking the band, staffing the concerts, like all kinds of shit. And I definitely worked a lot of these buses where you come to the bus, I check you off the will call list, you go on, I wristband you, whatever, then you get on and I sort of MC and DJ your time. And I say, hey, what's going on, Dave Matthews fans? How's it going? Here's how this is going to work. We're taking you to Jones Beach. Treat the bus like your locker room. Leave whatever you want. The driver, Kangaroo Jack, who was a real guy, will be here all night guarding your stuff with his life. But 30 minutes after the show ends, if you're not back here, we expect that you got a ride home with your friends and we're going to leave you and whatever the fuck. So anyway, this is a hilarious role for young me, right? But I crush this shit. Like, I'm all over it. And by the way, like, we do this for Fish. We do this for Dave Matthews, Kiss, Def Leppard, fucking Eminem and Rihanna. Like, it doesn't, if it's a big show that we think is going to pop off and like this will be good for our client base, we're sending a bus there. And oftentimes it was 2-3 buses like going to one concert. Like, it was crazy. So yes, one of the more unfortunate times. This worked very well 96% of the time. And then that other 4% of the time, we had some real mutinies and disasters. And I was now I look back, I'm like, shit, like I was really young dealing with all this. And there was one time, to make a long story even longer, Dave Matthews, Jones Beach, I want to say 2012 or 13, probably 13, somewhere around there. I'm very young. I'm still a teenager for sure. And we're there, and the bus driver, the bus broke down. whatever happened, it was bad. And people were, wrong turns were made. They were missing the first part of the show for sure. And it was a disaster. And people had paid their hard-earned money to be there and do the whole thing. And people were screaming at the driver, screaming at me, blah, blah, blah. They were like, literally like, let me off the bus. I'm going to Uber from this freeway to get like, I want out, and I'm just like, oh my God, like the kind of stress that you just can't even imagine handling at any age, let alone like all these adults scream. Like, I was just like, dude, this is so fucking crazy. Anyway, I don't know. I remember after all this mayhem and all this shit, like they basically, I think we basically missed the first set of this concert, which is not cool at all. And we were there. And I remember just being like, and at that point, I'm definitely softened up a little bit on the Dave Matthews Band at that point, but I'm not like, fuck yeah, at least I get to hear a Trippin' Billies tonight. Like I wasn't like, so at that point, I was just like head in my hands at this Dave show. Like, oh my God, where have I gone wrong in my life such that this is my problem? And I'm here at this Dave Matthews show, like, oh yeah. And I don't know. It was just like a very stressful moment for young me. So that is the story I told on Best Show Ever. And, but I will say, honestly, it was running those, but because we did a lot of them. And I remember, I think it was the Izod Center, which is like, closed in New Jersey, maybe the next year, or maybe even that side. I don't know. We definitely ran a bus to Dave there. And that wasn't a mutiny and it wasn't a disaster. And I went to the show because I can maybe count on one hand the amount of shows I like took a bus to and didn't go and see the show. Because like you're there, I'm running, and I'm a huge music fan. It's like part of the enjoyment for me is like going to see the show. Not that a ticket was provided for me, but I would figure it out, Anyway, so we go to the Izod Center, and I remember it clicking, and I was like, oh, no, like Karina, this band's awesome. Like this band is fucking beyond awesome. Actually, wait, I've been sleeping on this. This is ridiculous, like, and I remember, of course, Carter is sort of like, for like a musician's musician, like you're watching this guy play. And I was just like, dude, like that. Okay. I'm getting it. And then I get very, very obsessive about music. Right. And I feel like I have to know everything about everything, and then, so from then on, it was very psychotic. Like, what's the song Rapunzel? What, like, this is like just the beat of it, you know what I mean? And I was like, oh wow, how are they counting that? That's so interesting. And like all this. And I learned very, very quickly. I was like, oh, like bar bands don't cover this shit because they can't. It's fucking hard. And like, of course, as me, like the young, like music nerd, I was like, huh. And like, I remember hearing Satellite, and maybe, I'd probably heard Satellite as a younger kid being like, it's too soft. I'm like, I'm a metalhead. I can't deal with this. But then I was like, no. Like, listen to what he's playing and singing at the same time, trying to do it, being completely unable, having a whole new level of respect for him in that way, and doing the same. I did the same with So Much to Say. In the beginning of So Much to Say is so hard to play and sing at the same time. And just, I don't know. And I was just like really taken by it on like a musical, like a music nerd perspective, and then of course I get into the songwriting element of it, and I'm like, holy shit. And I heard Gray Street, and I was like, wow, like this is a fucking beautiful, incredible song, and here we are as I stand before you today, and for many, many years, it was one of those things. Like I would be lying if I told you it was an immediate love fest. You know what I mean? I almost wrote it off in my younger days because I was just like, I had the wrong impression of it, and then God, so many years come by, and like, yeah, hearing Two Step for the first time, I remember just being like, this is an incredible piece of music. Like this is and then super taken by all of that. I have a lot of favorite songs, and now I heard, and it's hard to even say, because like now I'm not like a nerd about Dave the way I'm a nerd about Fish or a nerd about a lot of stuff. You know what I mean? So I can't sit here and be like, well, on live tracks, blah, 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 the best version of this is whatever. Like, it's not as deep for me as it could be, but really into the song Break Free. and Break Free being played at that Irving Plaza show that I saw, just Dave solo, right? Maybe last year, 2 years ago, whatever it was. And I turned to my pal and I was like, wait, Break Free, like, I've heard this, but it's not recorded. He's like, it's on the new record. They finally recorded it, you know, and whatever. And I was like, oh, cool. But it was really cool to see him play it acoustic, like sort of baritone, like so fucking cool. And I don't know, little stuff like that where I'm just like, now I'm a Break Free scholar. You know what I mean? I've like listened to every Break Free like stuff. And that, you know, same with Cornbread. I'm like, what's going on with Cornbread? Where's the recording of Cornbread? Oh, okay, here we go. We got to go deep. Like, what's the, you know, just stupid. I get very fixated on little things like that. But, you know, it's very, very clear he's one of the most talented songwriters to ever do it, ever, you know. And he's put together a band that he's been with for so long that are spellbinding to watch. And I remember, like, once I sort of shed my whatever pretenses about it, I was like, no, Karina, you've been sleeping in a very intense way on this. And yeah, I mean, it meant so much to get that call, you know, on every level. I was just like, holy shit, this is insane. And now amazing. We have Eat, Drink, and Be Richard and Two Steph and, you know, all the other, it's amazing. It's like really, I don't know. I felt so welcomed by the Dave community in this little pocket of Mexico, you know, starting at the airport, you know, and that Atlanta terminal, the Delta flight, people are like, you know, it started right then. Everybody's just so friendly and cool and kind. And that goes a long way, you know, and it shows it is a real community and it's a real, you know, amazing people gather to see this guy sing his heart out. And with Dave and with Tim, like, forget it. Tim was shredding that night one Kashmir. Can we talking about it? Like, what are we talking about? Right. Guys,
so good.
So good. Dude. Really ridiculous. So yeah, that's the very long, you know, from buses burning and breaking down in the middle of the fucking highway, little fucking 18-year-old Karina, like, I don't know what's happening. What the fuck is going on? You know, to now it's really when I say what a long, strange trip it's been, I do mean it, because that is the pinnacle. And that also, oh man, I have so many kind of incredible horror stories from running those buses, you know, like, you know,
I bet.
Lighting on fire, the mutinies, people screaming, like, you know, and this one driver, I will say, it wasn't Kangaroo Jack. I wouldn't throw him under the bus like that, because that was my boy. But this one who, you know, I remember it was like a 3-day, like it was like maybe like Dave, Rush, and Kiss or whatever it was, you know. And I was like on that bus every day, going to Jones Beach or whatever, and she missed the turn every time. And it was this lethal turn where you miss that turn, we're fucked. And I'm like, my girl, we're all going to die because these paying customers need to go see the concert. This is like, you know, and it's just a charter bus company. She didn't. Anyway, still scarred, but working through it. So thank you.
Well, I'm glad the DMB frat boys didn't scare you off, and now you're part of the DMB cult. So
it feels great.
I hope you're happy about that. Great. Yeah,
I really am. I'm beyond happy. And by the way, it's so, talk about like short-sighted shit that you think when you're 14, 15, 16. I'm just like, you know, it's like, Karina, who do you think the Fish fans are? What are you talking about? Like, you love this, like, what, like, this is ridiculous. Like, anyway, it just goes to show, like, and I'm so, like, now I'm so non-judgmental about music in that way. It, like, honestly, to a fault. Like, people are just like, say something negative about something. I'm like, I find something to like in all this shit, you know? Like, there's something like, in all of it. And, you know, I think it's all music, man. It's all music. It's the beauty.
That's funny how it works out like that. In high school, so Bruce and I went to high school together. We've been best friends for forever. And in high school, it was a definite division of you were either a DMB fan or a Fish fan. And there was no in between. And it was like a weird kind of rivalry. Bruce was on the DMB side. But I just came around on Fish for, you know, fairly recently, and they're awesome. So
there you go. You see, we can all be friends. And that's, you know, that I feel like it's funny because that division, I'm talking about this in, the years 2009, 2010, 2011, like way after this is not like, I'm young. I'm not talking about the 90s when this shit was like literally happening and relevant. I'm not saying it wasn't relevant, but I'm just like in the wrong era thinking about this. Like, you know what I mean? I'm like, no, I'm a fish guy, not a DMB guy. Meanwhile, like my friends my age don't know what the fuck I'm talking about in either direction. You know what I mean? They're like, we listen to Miley Cyrus, like we literally don't know what you're talking about, and I'm like, yeah, well, there's a real division here, you know what I mean? It's so stupid to think about this anyway. It's like, Karina, you're born in the wrong decade regardless. Nobody cares your age about whether you like Fish or Dave Matthews.
Right.
So why
Gotta
not
have rivals.
Is that Trey on your shirt, Bruce, by the way?
Yeah.
I thought it was.
It's so cute. That's so
mosaic Trey.
Mosaic
Nice.
Trey.
Trey.
That's right.
Yeah. We got some rapid fire for you now. Bruce might have to hop off during this portion, but we'll just continue. So yeah, just quick answers right here. Rapid fire. What's the last song you listened to?
Wow. The new the Doechii tune that goes absolutely fucking crazy. Nissan Altima. God, it got me from point A to point B, let me tell you. And I texted Gabe. I was like, don't you wish I was savage enough to say lyrics like this? And he was like, wait, you're telling me this isn't what we're working on today? Anyway, yeah. Nissan Altima. Crazy.
All right. Who is your GOAT bassist?
Ooh. Bootsy Collins.
Ooh. Love it.
Let's go for it.
All right. Favorite cover song to play?
Genius of Love.
Genius of Love. What is we may have kind of had the answer, but I feel like we don't. What's your favorite DMB song?
Gun to my head, let's call it Two Step.
Boom.
Yeah.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yep. DMB song you'd want to guest on?
Two Step.
That would be sick.
I mean,
double bass on Two Step,
right? Oh God! But amended answer is any that I could be so lucky to be had for. Whatever Dave wants in a big way.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Artists you have not played with because you've played with a million, or guested with that you really want to.
Dave Matthews.
Boom.
Play into the crowd.
Easy.
It's true.
That's
favorite
fair.
venue, and then venue you want to play but haven't.
Ooh, favorite venue in general?
Yeah.
Let's call it Red Rocks. No, let's not. We got a nod to NY. It's Madison Square motherfucking Garden. Come on. Okay, hometown shit. Let's go. Come on.
Can't beat it.
Can't beat it, babe. Can't beat it. And then what was the second one? Wait, one that I want to play.
Yeah.
Because I replaced my Red Rocks. I rescinded my Red Rocks answer and put in MSG, and then venue I would like to play. Yeah, you know what? Double MSG. 2 MSGs right there. Perfect.
Boom.
I love that. All right, I'm going to do this one then I've got to hop. So first of all, thank you, Karina. You're the best. This is awesome. We may have to do this again because this is just too much. This is too good.
Have me back. I would love that. Thank you for your time here, Bruce. And I'm sorry that my answers were so long that it's exceeded the amount of time you can spend with us. And thank you so much for having me. Seriously, all bullshit aside.
We would much rather have the long answers.
Oh, good.
Trust me. It leaves us to talk less, which is always better for anyone listening.
Well, I love to talk, so have me back for part 2. Yes.
Okay.
We will.
So for me, humor me. Favorite Fish song?
Oof, You Enjoy Myself.
Okay. Boom.
Yeah.
And we all did enjoy you. So thank you, Karina. And I'm going to bow out. Nolan and Karina, enjoy yourselves. And we'll talk to you soon. Thank you, Karina.
Great mic drop.
Bruce.
Great to see you. Thank you so much for having me. Karina loves rapid fire, baby. I love it. Keep them coming.
All right. Here's one a little topical. Beach or mountains?
Oh, beach. Beach for real.
Okay.
Yeah.
Favorite Dead song?
Shit, dude. Gonna kill me.
Mm-hmm.
Terrapin.
I just saw John Mayer played that at the Music Cares the other night. Acoustic Terrapin.
I mean, it's when I'm saying that. And yes, is that definitely one of, 12 true answers that I could give you? Yes. Like, you know what I mean? Because today it's Terrapin, and tomorrow it's Estimated, and the next day it's Shakedown, and the next day it's St. Stephen, and the next day, like, you know what I mean? It's just, it's like, picking your favorite child. Not that I have, but
No, for real. And while we're on that, the music here's Grateful Dead night. I got to shout out friend of the pod, Rick Materatonda, playing with Noah Khan and Bela Fleck on Friend of the Devil. That's like just a dream group right there. I cannot believe that happened.
So next level. A lot of that I was watching, I was just like, oh snap, let's go, guys. Like, I like just really amazing pairings of people. And like we say, a songbook that good should be illegal. It's not even,
I know,
to be alive in the time of the Grateful Dead at all. Post Jerry, Jerry died like a year after I was born. But, I feel so lucky to be ensconced in this world that those guys kind of laid out for us and for me. Like, I don't take it for granted for a fucking second. And it's just, all the post GD stuff, it's, informed our world. It's the coolest shit ever.
Oh, it's so good. Have you been to Sphere?
Yes. All of Fish. I saw the 4 Fish shows, and I saw 3 Dead & Co shows.
Oh, sick. I'm trying to go to Sphere this April for Dead & Co. So
nice, dude.
We'll see.
It's very exciting. I look forward to your time there and telling me all about it. That shit is fucking cool.
Can't wait. All right, last rapid fire. What's the best show you've played?
Oh, God.
Where you walked off the stage and you were like, yeah, we did.
Well, you know what? This is a good segue. And this is, it's so hard because, a good show for me could be not the best show for the audience, and vice versa. You know what I mean? Like, me having the greatest experience doesn't mean that I played the best. You know what I mean? Like, it's so subjective. And so, you have to get out of your head and out of your own way to be subjective and judgmental about those types of things. But let's just call it my biggest New York show to date, which was at Racket, which was May 18th, 2024. And it was, it was a hometown show, 700 people. It sold out in 8 hours. It was the biggest headline show I'd done up until that point. And, every, like, just friend, family member, teachers from, lower school, middle school, and high school, like, just, the love was just abounding in the house, and it was just so special. And that leads me to this, if this does come out on Wednesday, which it better, the pre-sale for my, basically, we play New York about once a year. I live here and I'm from here, and we don't want to exhaust, it would be very easy to exhaust the market, but biggest headlining show up until this point of my career, Webster Hall, Saturday, May 10th, 2025, baby. Password is Joyride. There's no way the ticket link isn't posted 100 times on my Instagram and Facebook and Twitter and God knows where else. But it's like literally, I know I said I want to play MSG. Actually, what's funny is I have never played a note of music at Webster Hall. I've never been in a band that's opened, like, nothing, but I have played a few notes of music at MSG when Fish let me sound check with them, and I've played a few notes at Radio City when I was in the backing band for some act on America's Got Talent, but I've not played a note at Webster Hall, and I've seen all my favorite bands there growing up. And to me, it's one of the biggest deals of my, like, I'm like, dude, I'm in a band that could play Webster Hall, and wait, it's my band. Like, that is so crazy. So yeah, that's coming up, and that's basically the thing. I've never been more excited for a show. And if it comes close to the energy of Racket, which I think it'll well surpass, I would like to think that that'll be my favorite show I've ever played to.
Yeah. Oh, I can't wait for that. So everyone listening, be sure to check out the pre-sale today on Wednesday. Webster Hall. Yes.
Karina, Webster
Great
Hall.
timing.
Saturday, May 10th. Booyah.
Boom.
Yeah, that's it. I'll see you there, Nolan. You coming? Come on, you coming? Where do you live? What's going on with you?
You know what? I'm gonna be in Cabo at El
That's,
Gonzo with
yep.
Goose.
That's the competition, baby. That's the competition. You got to find the people who aren't going to El Gonzo. That's great.
Yeah.
That's great.
Get the DMV fans that already went to Mexico. They don't need to go to Cabo too for Goose.
That's true.
They come to New York. Yeah.
Thanks, DMV fans. Come on, come to New York. I'll show
Yeah.
you a good time. It's a hometown throwdown of the highest order, which means we are pulling out all the stops. So I'm really, really looking forward to that. But that's awesome. That's going to be super fun. And where do you live? What's going on with you? I don't know anything about you. How about I interview you now? Rapid fire.
Sure.
Where do you live?
North Carolina, Cary, North Carolina.
No way. That's so sick. Awesome. And what about Bruce? Him too?
He is from the same area-ish, but now he's in Jacksonville, Florida.
Dude, this is such hot goss. This is so good to know. Okay, great. Snickers or Milky Way?
Snickers.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Ruffles or Pringles?
Ooh. I'll give it to Ruffles cheddar sour cream.
I like it.
Can't beat it. Great road trip chip.
That's good. That's really good. Okay.
Yeah.
Two-step or Trippin' Billy's?
Two-step.
All right.
Yeah. Two-step's my favorite. Two-step and Crush. Those are my two.
I love that. Well, Crush, talk about a great bass sit in too. Holy fuck. You know? Like, dude, Crush would really damn.
All-time bass line.
Right? I know. I was like, maybe that. I'll amend my prior answer.
Yeah. We got to get you and Fonz to do a collab sometime. Get Fonz on stage with you.
Let's get a little Fonz going. I know. I would be so hype. Oh my God.
It'd be amazing. Wow. Well, so talking about touring, you've got 2 months of writing ish. And then you announced another New York show recently, Mountain Jam. You'll be playing at Mountain Jam with some of our other favorites, Khruangbin, Mountjoy, and Goose headlining. Are you into their music? And what kind of stands out to you right now about the jam scene? Because it seems like it's in like a really good place. Like everyone's kind of just like firing on all cylinders in the space.
It's I would definitely say, rising tides lift all ships, and thank you, Goose, for being that for us, in such a huge way. Yeah, no, I mean, I'm close with Peter and Becky, his beautiful lady, and Cotter came to our Vermont show not long ago, and
nice.
I've met all those guys. Like, I've definitely met Rick, and I don't know, they're so incredible, and it's amazing to see the meteoric rise, as we love to say, and all that. But no, I mean, I think the jam space is in a really good place right now, and also I really appreciate Goose for kind of putting an emphasis on songwriting and an emphasis on, like, you know what I mean? Like, there are so many bands that sort of came before that, did really cool stuff, but it was all sort of just like, well, wait to see what happens after the song ends, and you're trying to show the song to somebody who's like not on 12 hits of acid, and you're like, okay, no, just wait, it gets better, because look, they're so good at their instruments or whatever. But Rick's voice and Peter's voice together, beautiful. And, I don't know. I remember when Dripfield came out, it was sort of like, holy shit, like, game over, guys. Like, fuck yeah. And it's super inspiring to me because, we like to make sort of kind of, psychedelic indie rock and then jam, So that's and it doesn't necessarily sound like quote unquote jam band music. You know what I mean? All the time. Like, it does plenty of the time, but other times it sounds, like Bon Iver or like whatever. Like, it's super cool and inspiring. And I love those guys. We have the same agent, and it's all part of the family. And same with Khruangbin. Me, Goose, and Khruangbin, we have the same agents and everything. And though Khruangbin has been so incredible to me, as I mentioned, like in my career, like that was the first band that I opened for. It's crazy, and they're good pals of mine. Laura Leasy, like, just the coolest person, amazing bass player.
Mhm.
Yeah, we play on the same day as them, so that'll be really, really fun. And Mountain Jam, as such, that festival occupies an extremely close place in my heart because I grew up in New York City. It's like it's 2 hours away basically, and I went
Mhm.
many years in a row as a young teenager. And dude, there's one great story where I went one year. This is like, I'm probably 18, 19, actually maybe 20 at that point, and
Mhm.
whatever. And I had no plan of how long I was going to be there, where I was going to stay, what I was going to do. But I just had a million friends going, we're like, oh yeah, come on, whatever. Like, and I don't know. I just didn't worry about it. And I hate
Mhm.
carrying bags. It's a big part of my personality. I hate fucking bags. So anytime that I can get away without carrying even a tote bag pisses me the fuck off. So no. So your girl was in black jeans, boots, black t-shirt, denim jacket. In the denim jacket, I had eyeliner, a phone charger, and my birth control pills.
Okay.
And
The
like that's
essentials.
the essentials. It's just shit that you need. And literally, I went up with some friends who had their own plans of whatever was going on. And
Mhm.
I ended up staying up there for like 4 days with
Wow.
just crashing with friends and whatever and all this stuff. And I was just like, wow, yep, don't have a change of clothes. Didn't know it was going to go like this. Here, we're still here doing it, And then my dear friend, shout out Monica Hampton, drove me home 4 days later. It's great.
Wow.
Yeah. So,
Wow. From roughing it to playing on this stage there. That's
crazy.
that's got to be pretty surreal.
The whole thing's crazy, definitely. And I played it. It switched to Bethel Woods in
Mhm.
2019, and I played it with Marco in that other location. But I'm very excited for it to be on a mountain, kind of like the way I experienced it growing up. It's not on
Yeah.
Hunter Mountain like it used to be, but I think it'll harken back to those old school Mountain Jam vibes. And
I hope so.
to finish answering your question, do I love Mount Joy? Yes, I love Mount Joy. I saw Mount
Yes.
Joy at Red Rocks this last summer. It was a one show at Red
Oh,
Rocks.
no way.
Super fucking cool.
Oh.
Also my same agents. I forgot. Yep. So the 3 headline,
Wow.
so it's they're a rival artist's family, man. So no, and
Wow.
I don't know those guys at all. I've never met them.
Yeah.
But I hope to. And
Yeah.
incredible. And yeah, that show was really kind of eye-opening. Like I was just like, oh shit, like people really love this band. Like, whoa.
Yeah.
People are going hard right now, singing really loud, every word, very, very cool. So I like to see
It's a
the win.
DMB vibe a little bit with
Yeah,
the crowd and everything, but
definitely.
man, that'd be a great festival.
Yeah,
I
right.
don't think we'll be making it up for that one, but Bruce and I will be in New York for Goose at MSG for their headliner in June. So let us know if you're going to be there as well.
Yes, I can't imagine that I won't be there unless I have a gig. And right now, I don't think I have a gig. So
All right.
see you there.
Okay.
So
Well,
cool.
thanks for joining us. This has been awesome. So glad that it worked out where you could go to Jamaica and Mexico and immerse yourself among the DMB culture. I know
Yeah.
everyone has been, all of our friends that were there were raving about you and said that your sets were just incredible. So just added to the experience of their Dave and Tim week. So
That's so
appreciate
sweet.
you. Thank you for coming on, and we'll see you next time on the corner of Gray Street.
Osiris.